Hello everyone, this is Shannon from That's So Poe, and today I'm doing week 52 of my 2022 reads. This week I picked up a bunch of really fun reads, which was such a nice way to close out my year. Timestamps and content warnings are in the description box below. First, I read Soonish by Kelly and Zach Weinersmith. This is a nonfiction book that has a lot of comics integrated into it that takes a look at, I think, 10 different areas of tech or development and what those might look like in the future. So everything from kind of dealing with space stuff to robots to medicine to all different sorts of things, and kind of dives deep into each of these topics and says, so where are we? What developments might happen? You know, can we get to this sort of state of technology where we're actually using these things usefully? All that kind of stuff with a lot of comics sort of woven in. And the people who have made this, they're a wife and husband team, and the husband has a comic series called Saturday Morning Breakfast Cereal. Breakfast comics, something like that, SMBC. And so like they've kind of collaborated on this because the wife is a scientist, and so they've just researched all these topics and looked into it. So this was definitely a fun read. I think that sometimes it read a little bit slowly. So even though I was interested in it when I was reading it, it just took me such a long time to get through this, maybe a couple of months. And the comics definitely made me laugh a little bit, but I think that this also was a little bit hurt by having read What If just recently, and I think that that did a similar idea of exploring scientific topics with comics, but I think that one was a lot easier to get through. But still, I thought that this was really fascinating. Even though it's a few years old, some of it is still just really, really interesting. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I reread Everything Is Okay by Debbie Tung. This is a kind of comic collection / mini memoir about Tung's experience with depression and getting therapy and kind of working through that. I had read this earlier this month, but I just wanted to reread it again. I had read it originally on my phone through my library's Libby app, but I liked it so much that I decided to get a physical copy, and then once I had the copy, I just kind of wanted to read through it physically in my hands, and I enjoyed it just as much on the second time around. I really love the way that she draws. I love how she uses these watercolors, and also the way that she just portrays that experience of going through depression and trying to come out of it, and all of the realizations that she had and the introspection. It's just a wonderful comic if you're looking for somebody's experience with depression and with going to therapy, but in a really, really approachable comic format. So yeah, again, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And then the last things that I read for the end of the year were Cinnamon Bun Volumes 3 and 4 by Raven's Dagger. I had read the first 2 volumes in this the previous week, and this was just such a great way to end my year. This series is so much fun. It's a lit RPG, so it's a fantasy that has a lot of stats and quests and leveling up and all of these sorts of things. And we follow a teenage girl, Broccoli Bunch, who's a human, but in the very beginning of the series, she gets transported to this kind of fantasy world where she is class Cinnamon Bun. And just, she's so sweet. She just wants to make friends with everybody, go on adventures. Her skills end up being things like cleaning and jumping and hugging and things like that. It is just really adorable. I don't want to go too much into the plot in 3 and 4, but it just really expands the world. We see so many more cities, so many more people, so many more places. They go to so many cool dungeons. They fight against like pirates and monsters and all sorts of things. So there's a ton of action and adventure, and just also a lot of friendship. There's so much friendship in this. And there's also, especially in volume 4, some real growth that Broccoli Bunch has to go through in terms of how to deal with difficult situations. And so I really like seeing that. And there's an interesting kind of political intrigue plot that's also going on. So yeah, this is just a fascinating series. There are still like a couple of issues in each of these volumes, things where, you know, maybe there's little pieces of the world building or the humor or something that doesn't 100% land for me. But overall, I just really loved both of these, and I gave them each 4.5 stars. Okay, so that is everything that I read for the last week of the year. I hope that you guys have had a wonderful reading year as well. As soon I will have up some of my, best of the year list, those sorts of things. If you guys have read any of the books that I mentioned this week, if you're interested in them, or if you want to tell me what you closed out the year on, I'd love to hear from you. Just leave me a comment down below.